a trip to the market. In your average D&D campaign, something that is probably going to go smoothly. In this case, things started out well, and then quickly got out of hand thanks to everyone's favorite thing, wild magic and alcohol. It all started when Aiko, the changeling in the group, needed to get some watermelon for her newly adopted Thornwolf. It liked eating watermelon. So, one of the other players, Sebastian, decided that they were going to distract the shopkeeper, which they did some sleight of hand checks later, and with the help of Lightar, managed to steal the tomatoes and watermelon. The tomatoes kind of just fell in secondly on, like as an oops. Then they went down to the next vendor, who was selling weapons. You know, your average run-of-the-mill weapons. So they tried the same plan, but this time, they actually decided to buy some things. But then across the way, they heard someone was selling beer. They went over and asked to try a shot. He obliged. Gave them gave them the two that wanted it, being Aiko and Sebastian. Sebastian was a minor cast of mirror image, making it so that there was now four of him. But nothing too bad. And Aiko's was so small that I don't remember it. But then, instead of being like, whoa, wild magic, we don't want to mess with that, they decided to drink some more. And chaos starts to unfold as Sebastian becomes invisible. Thanks to the wild magic. But keep in mind, only the one Sebastian's invisible. So his clones are acting out the wills of the invisible man. Meanwhile, Aiko, nothing has still happened, but they drink again. This time, Aiko's now able to see invisible things and can locate Sebastian again. Then Eric, another player character, a Dragonborn, decides he's gonna drink. And now, whenever he goes to speak, bubbles come out for the next minute. This is where Lightar comes in. He's just like, well, how about instead of paying this guy, because the first sample shot was free, but since then it was 15 gold apiece. Since we don't want to pay him, what if I just break into his house and then steal things? Aiko drinks again. Bam! Fog cloud in that 10 feet, so things are hard to see. Lightheart breaks into the house where the wild magic shots are made and begins taking apart the machine. Not knowing how to properly take out part the machine or how to turn it off, which leads to a good old fashioned explosion, which then makes the surrounding area all have to roll wild magic, which pretty inconsequential effects. Another fog cloud, but two of them were interesting, being two that were the same. A thing that made everything within the range now vulnerable to piercing damage. And it made it double vulnerable. So if you get pierced, you were just screwed. But feeling softer after the blast from the explosion, which blew everything back, people, the players, it was a mess. Sebastian decides, what if I get stabbed? And then Kirsha, a player character that hadn't done anything up to this point, gives a stab. with her most powerful piercing attack that she has. He's dead on the spot. No saves, no nothing. Basically, kaboom. Just gone. Meanwhile, Lightar, after failing to make the machine, realizes that the wild magic must be coming from somewhere in the house. He runs upstairs, where he finds a wild magic flower. At the same time, guards have heard the explosion and have carried themselves there, trying to get control of the situation. Seeing how Kirsha literally just stabbed someone right as they showed up, they immediately arrest her and throw her back in the back of the carriage and take her off to jail. Meanwhile, some of them go into the burning building, seeing Lytar in there, and chase after him, trying to tackle his imaginary doppelgangers because he also got the mirror image. He eventually gets to the flower, decides to eat it because he's an addict, apparently. He also is severely drunk because he, when taking part in the machine, removed one wrong part that caused a bunch of alcohol to spill out. Now, rather than being a normal person and putting it back or finding a way to stop the flow, he decides that the best way to stop it is to just drink. And then he did. So finding the flower, some more wild magic is rolled. He gets a little taller, for 2 inches, before his heart seizes up and he passes out. Adam roll a Constitution saving throw. He did not do well. He's then carted off to the hospital. At that same time, it leaves only 2 party members. One of them is flying after the cart, and the other one is drunkenly running, being Aiko and Eric. Aiko is eventually slowed down by Eric, realizing that they should probably come up with a plan. Eric flies down, and it's just like, okie dokie. So, which one do we go after? Do we go after the body in the morgue to potentially get a revive? Do we go to the prison to bust Kirsha out? Or do we follow Lytar to make sure that he doesn't die of like liver poisoning or a botched procedure? At the same time, there's like some guards that are just like, alright, who caused the explosion? Aiko, in a drunken confusion, bolts from it, even though they're not the one that caused the explosion. The guards, not knowing that, tackle them and take them off to jail, leaving Eric, who flies to the prison, fails a medicine check, meets the famous Dr. Xander of the land, and Xander diagnoses a liver transplant, so this will take a little while. Meanwhile, at the prison, Aiko, this is a little time after, Aiko and Kirsha both arrive. Aiko is interrogated first. They have a wizard in the room that casts a zone of truth so that, you can't lie. You can only tell the truth. And since Aiko tells all the truth and can't lie, they believe her. Them, my bad. They believe him because they literally didn't do it, and also they told the straight truth. So they're free to go. But then Kirsha comes in, who confesses to the crime, but then it's just like, wait, I have someone that could help me with this. Summons their, not patron, but someone that helped them get out of heck. You see, they're a tiefling who had to make a deal with a underworld being to get out. I do not remember the race, but we call him Weaselman. Summons Weaselman. Weaselman's just like, alright, what do you want? Also under the effects of the Zone of Truth. Basically says outright, okay, I'll make this knife that has forged fingerprints to prove that you didn't do it. And that works. But in exchange, Kirsha now owes an additional favor to Weaselman. At first, she owed 3. She had paid off 2, but now she owes 2 again because, well, Weaselman had to help her again. After that, she's let out of prison. Eric swings by to pick him up. They go back to go get Lytar. Well, but as they go get Lytar, they see that he is running out of the hospital with a piece of a gem called Scotty. Scotty is kind of like the MacGuffin at the moment. He was this full sapphire, he exploded into 12 pieces, and now they're trying to get the 12 pieces back. They had 5 of them, and Xander had 1. Lytar took it and started bolting out of the hospital. Guards were coming to rush him when he used an item he had actually bought at the market earlier. You see, he bought this bow where, with enough strength, he can launch anything. This is where he asked me, could I launch myself with it? And then he proceeds to launch himself with it above onto the gate, away from a guard there, and then does it mid-air to land on the back of Eric. But with all this weight, it makes it less of a fly that Eric was doing, carrying Kirsha and Aiko, and more of a falling with style, as the weight is too heavy. They eventually fall and land at a river, with Kirsha falling into that river. Kirsha sees the body of, guess who? Sebastian in the river, since they just dumped the body there. And that's where the session ended. What was supposed to be a quick trip to the market, and then back to the main plot, ended up being with with a player character dead, 2 arrested, 1 sent to the hospital, and the other one had to help clean up the mess. If anything happens in the sequel to this, because, the next session is going to happen, I will make a follow-up, just so you know the fate of Sebastian. And that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry I haven't uploaded. I got a new job and I've been doing that. And also my video editing software sucks. And I've been trying to look for a new one. And also I kind of got a little burned out. And, life stuff happened. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.